when the idea of the podcast came to my mind, I thought that not making it about me was very important. Now, what I noticed with some of these conversations is that part of it has to be about me, because people around you and the influence that you get from them is what shape you and what make you who you are. So in the depths of some of my darkest times and moments and thoughts, I was lucky enough to meet a person who helped me understand that sometimes your nervous system and your brain doesn't allow you to regulate, doesn't allow you to do certain things. And that goes to the extent of sometimes not being able to talk to people or understand what people are saying or frame the conversation or what you're saying and what you're doing in a way that the other person will feel connected to you. And that's when I met our guest today, who taught me so much about our brain preferences and the way that our brain works that allows us to communicate and to connect with other people. And you all know how much I care about connection and how much I care about people. So this is fundamental for me. What we're going to learn, hopefully, today from this conversation is going to be slightly different from usual. But what we're going to learn today is going to be really, really, really useful. I use the things and shit that he has taught me pretty much on a daily basis. So with us, Sachin Jain today. Hi, Sachin.
Thank you, dude. That was really kind. Unexpected the way you put it.
All true.
Cool. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming, mate. It's really good. For context to people, I've known Sachin for about 3 years, give or take.
4, man. Almost, yeah.
Oh, 4, man. Yeah. 4. For 4 years. So it's not a lifetime, but it feels that way. So let's start with your human doing. What is it that you do on a day-to-day basis? What's your work? Why would people know what you do?
Even though you told me to prepare for this, it never comes out the same way. What do I do? So basically, I help, in a very layman term, right? I help companies design experiences that their customers love, and more importantly, experiences that their people are proud to deliver to the customers.
That's awesome. So how long have you been doing this for?
I think close to 15 years. Yeah.
Quite a bit. Tell me about it.
So essentially, when you look at, and for me, in terms of whether it's an individual or a company, it all starts with being very clear on the purpose that you have, why you exist, right? Once that clarity is established, whether you're dealing with an individual or a company, everything else sort of falls in place. So for an organization, it may fall into people, process, systems, your standard verticals, and you work across those to deliver improvements and tweak all of these to deliver the experiences you want. But for individuals, again, it's the same thing. I think, your question where you ask people their human doing, essentially what they do, I think most people are very clear what they do, and they start describing it by their titles or their function in a company and so on. Try asking them why they do it. That is one they struggle with most of the time. It's the same with companies as well. You ask them why they exist. Usually you'll get some bullshit about, to make sure that customers are the center of everything we do. Or if you ask an entrepreneur, they will say to make money. And again, not the right answers, because they're not the purpose, right? Why you exist.
Why do you do it?
I do it again. So I was thinking about this, right? When you say you're going to ask me what I do for work, and what I do in life, as in when I'm not working, they're quite aligned, and that's why probably I don't get as frustrated at work as some people do, right? And it's the same thing. It's the transformation of an individual as well, helping them discover the purpose. So in a company context or an organization context, primarily I start working with the individuals and the team leaders and the wider teams to help them discover how their values and how their purpose is aligned to what company is trying to do. And when you achieve that alignment, it works really well. And why I do what I do is to see that transformation. It's amazing when you talk to individuals and you see that light come on, and when you ask them these difficult questions, about their purpose, somewhere I think in all the conversations I learn and I grow. That's why I do what I do. I think if I stop learning and growing, I'll probably stop. Yeah.
How did you get to that point? Because I would imagine that you didn't start your career X amount of years ago and you said, this is my purpose. So how did you go from I started doing this to this is why I'm doing this and this is it becoming who I am as opposed to what I do?
So for me, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. So I started my life as a businessman, essentially working with my dad. And I had my own company, which I walked out of because me and my dad were having quite a difference of opinion. So when I was 22, 23 back then, so I didn't know any better anyways. But when I had my first job and more people I interacted with, I realized that I get my energy out of helping people or helping people see things differently. And I think that shaped my career. So I started in a technical help desk, supporting customers on a chat channel. But then I was a trainer, and throughout the language, I stuck to that vertical. It's just because it's not about the industry you work in, but you're always working with people, and that's where I got the energy from. Is helping people do their best. Essentially.
So that's what you do.
Yeah.
If you could define your relationship with work with a metaphor or an analogy, which is something I always ask, people will know. What would that analogy be?
I think for work, and I talk a lot about ripples, like all our actions, conscious or subconscious, they create ripples further down our life, which impact everybody around us and ourselves, right? I think work is like throwing a big ass rock into the pond of your life because the ripples go far and wide, right? So it's not just about that it brings in money, but it affects your stress, your body, mind, everything, your relationships. And people don't realize that. Most people take up work as means to an end, brings money through the door, right? But yeah, that's my analogy. I think you're throwing a big ass rock in the pond of your life and very thoughtful around what you do with it. What is the work that you're doing in your life? Yeah.
That's awesome. I love the analogy. Tell me about a time where you threw a rock and you saw the ripple happening. How was that for you?
I think it's mainly, I started thinking more about this, through the books I read and the movies I watched and so on. But if you think about it, and I'm spiritual, I'm not religious. You asked me about that before. But every single thing that happens in your life, right? If you think about you sitting here right now, is as a result of multiple events that have occurred, and they're seemingly unconnected. But like if you think about it, things had to happen precisely at the right time for you to end up here, and millions of those events, right? So I don't think there is one particular incident that I would go, I did this and I saw the ripples. I think it's every single thing. I've seen a conversation that I have with a cab driver, very random, just asking them about their life, what they do, what they want to do in life, about their dreams, and that turning into something completely different where they took up studies or they did something very different. In day-to-day events, right? I end up talking to my team, and instead of work, we end up talking about like, are they investing? What do they do with their money? How do they multiply it? And then suddenly it could turn into them actually starting an investment into an ETF or something, and 10 years down the line, that changes their financial position completely. So I think it's everyday things we do, we speak, we don't even think about it. But I think that's my goal anytime I talk to people, is to bring that awareness, is like be aware of every single thing you do, because does have an impact.
It's funny you say that. My brother, Juanjo, if you're watching, I'm quoting you. You fucking hope you're watching, actually.
It's amazing. Eh? It's
just like, you're my brother. You should be fucking watching this. He usually says that everything, that's his philosophy at least, everything that happens comes down to one decision. And I think it's interesting because you come from a point of there's a lot of things that need to happen. We are a teeny tiny speck of something in billions and billions of years of the universe to what it is now. We are, from that perspective, cosmologically speaking, nothing.
Insignificant.
However, insignificant. That's exactly right. However, he has this view, and I don't know if I subscribe to it or not. I haven't made up my mind yet. That if I now stand up and punch you in the face, that is not gonna change the world, but it's definitely gonna change something here. And the ripple effect that you talk about comes down to that one decision that I made at that point. I do wonder, though, to your point, if it has to do with why did I decide to punch you, and when did I start thinking about that, and what shaped that violence in me, and so on and so forth.
Or even the
That's
fact
a
that we
horrible
met.
example, though. I would never punch you in the face, Sachin. Sorry.
Or even the fact that we were in that situation where we were associated in some way, right? To be able
I
to
wouldn't punch you in the face. I promise.
But yeah, it's a butterfly effect, man, right?
Yep.
Like, it's the same thing. So you can trace it as far back as you can think of. But I believe, at least for individuals, right? Like when you talk about yourself, talking a bit more on the spiritual side as well, is every soul that comes in your life, right? And whether it's human or non-human, every soul that comes in your life is a soul that has interacted with you before. And it's all connected.
Tell me more.
In some ways.
Tell me more about that.
Okay. So how do I explain this? This is a tricky topic to explain as well. Soul, if you think of it from scientific terms, is what? Just energy, right?
Yes. Well, I don't know. Let's assume.
Let's assume it's energy. I see that as just energy, right? Pure energy. If I think back to scientific learnings where we go, Einstein's theory where it goes E = mc square, it's energy is constant. You can't destroy it, you can't create it. It just changes form from one to another.
Yep.
Right. So if you think of all of those souls are just energies, what happens once you die? Just changes form. So you either burn them or you bury them. Either ways, it goes back into the world or the universe as we see it.
Yep.
Right. So essentially, it's just energies interacting with each other. Right. So when we meet people, the things we do to them, whether you love them or you hurt them, and the things they do to you, it's essentially like, if you believe in the concept of karma, it's just like that. It's stuff that you deserve, the stuff that you probably owe them in some way or form. Right?
I understand.
So and I think every religion talks about this in some way, where there's something bigger than us. Right? We have very limited understanding and perception of things around us. So when you look at it that way, it's just all connected in some way or form.
I'll reel it back a little bit onto our usual topics, because I could talk about this forever. We've had this conversation so many times with Sachin, and it always goes into these rabbit holes. I want to go back onto something that you said before. You were talking about your human doing, and you said, I usually don't get as wound up or as stressed or as, bad as other people. And that touches on, number one, how we delve into the human being and who you actually are, and how your values and self-worth are not coming from that doing, but from something else. So I wonder, number one, throughout the years in your career, is that something that you picked up, or you feel like you were programmed to be like this? Or, what does it look like today? There's a lot of people out there who will go, dude, I just can't. Like that guy sent me an email or girl sent me an email and I'm like, I lose my shit. So what's your, it's not secret, but what's your view? How does that work for you?
I think it does come down to, at least in my head, it does come down to a choice, right? You mentioned the word worth. How do you associate for you? What does worth mean, right? It's
you asking me?
Yeah. When you say that something is valuable or someone is important, or some task is urgent or serious, any associations you have, how does that come about?
If it is personal worth for me, comes from my values, really, and what I believe in and what I think is right.
Or when you say something is important enough to upset you or to, get you,
because it goes against my values.
Yeah, but
or it clashes with something that I believe it's important for me, about my values.
But it's the value or that you are assigning.
Oh, absolutely,
to that task,
absolutely,
right?
Yes.
And for me, I think that's where I picked up. For me, it came quite early on, where, say, for example, I wasn't a great academic student. I wasn't good at studies, right? And coming from social background especially from India, that's very important. And people do compare
academia,
you, to compare you to other people, and that is essentially a benchmark of how successful you'll be in life. If you're not good at studies, you're going to fail. Right? Again, we're talking about the 90s. So when I was constantly getting compared or feeling like I'm a failure, and I used to fail. So when you have 10 subjects that you're supposed to give and you're failing 5 of them or 6 of them, that's not a great thing. So I had 2 choices, right? Either I could get really sad about it and feel depressed and feel like a failure, or second is I do something about it, right? And when I say doing something about it, it's like either I study harder, put more pressure on myself, or I just go, yeah, it is what it is. I don't want to have that negatively impact me, so I'm going to become a rock. I don't want, it's like, water flowing over the rock. While the people around me are still getting upset, for me, I'm not going to give that reaction as much importance. So when you think about anything else like that upsets people, that depresses them or makes them feel less about themselves, it's because of the association they have with the events happening around them. They choose to give them that importance. You take the importance away, how is it going to impact you?
Do you really think they choose?
I think so, yeah. I think people, to be very honest, I think consciously or subconsciously, we are choosing all the time. All the time. And if I have to give you an example of real world stuff, gold, for example. Why is gold valuable? It's freaking metal. Why is it valuable?
We put value into it.
We think it's rare, so it's
humanity
valuable.
did.
And that's the same for every single thing. Think about it. We are choosing consciously or subconsciously. And I feel just changing that mindset, understanding that at any given time, you have a choice, changes your perspective. It's about taking control.
Also, we are going to fight.
That's why we have to have discussions. We do agree, though, eventually.
No, I kind of agree, though. I'm finding it hard.
Give me an example.
I'm working on it. I'm finding it hard to connect with that idea, because if I work on something, because the context here is work, right?
Okay.
Let's put the context of work. I work on something. I work really hard, and I've been doing it for 3 weeks. This project that is keeping me awake at night and so on. And I did the best I could, and I'm really proud of what I did, etc. And then someone out of the blue comes and picks it apart, and they go, "That's a bad job. You did that was really shitty because of these reasons and da. And I don't believe that's what it is. Everybody else in the world is saying that I did a good job except for you. So when you say that to me, I I don't think a lot of people have the choice to go, meh, I don't care. It's just you. And I've worked on therapy about this for a long time. I do believe that you can, like, our thoughts will dictate our emotions and our actions.
Who dictates your thoughts, though? Who dictates your thoughts?
Myself. Myself. Yeah. No, that's what I'm saying. If I'm thinking that person is right, that what he's saying, he or she's saying is true, then I feel this emotions of.
So let's break it up. That's really good example, right? So in that moment, right?
Yeah.
Now that person has given you feedback.
Yeah.
Tell me, what choice do you have? You have choices. What are the choices you have?
You have choices. So I have the choice of let it slide and go, I know I did a good job, and that's your opinion. It's an opinion.
Or, right? So you will have many choices. And that's exactly what I'm saying. You always have a choice. And you decide what to do next. You can't control what he did to you, what he came and said to you. You don't control that. That's for sure, right? But how you react to that is absolutely up to you. And it will be one of the million choices, not just one. There'll be a million choices out there. And what you decide to do in that next moment, the choice you make dictates the domino effect you set in motion, right?
So say that.
Now, so first let's establish that you had a choice.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, and that's all I was saying.
Yep. And let's say that people can do that at will, because I truly believe that not a lot of people can do that at will. That they don't have the I don't know if it is emotional maturity. I don't think what it is. It's certain way of dealing with shit without getting lost in the emotion.
And that itself, when you talk about will, that itself is an amazing topic to discuss, right? When you say, I am not strong enough, or I can't react or control my emotions that way. Again, it's similar to the gold example. You are associating that. You're choosing to. I tell you, dude, you have to climb Mount Everest. You'll go, maybe? Or you might go, no, I can't do it. Do it, right? Yep. And yet there are people who have no limbs climbing Mount Everest.
Yep, 100%.
How's that happening? The only difference is they choose that. They go, you know what? There are people who are defying logic and science and anything practical.
100%.
Doing this in everyday life, whether it's fasting for a crazy amount of days, or Wim Hof, for example, climbing to whatever, 15,000 feet without clothes on.
Yep.
It defies logic, defies science. People are still doing it. And the only difference is because they believe that they can.
Willpower is what you're saying.
Choice. Choosing to believe. Willpower comes from belief, right? Willpower is essentially how strongly do you believe. That is willpower. That's essentially it. So when you say you're passionate about some things, that's because you have given it that weightage. And you hold on to it that strong. You believe in it that strongly that you'll go to war for it, right? And that means you can change it.
Let me spin it for a second.
Yep.
Say that people can control that at will. Let's say that.
I don't think it's a choice.
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's say that people can make that choice in the moment. Yeah. Let's say that they choose to get upset. Just to put it in the same context of what you're saying. They choose to get upset. They are in the upset because I truly believe that as well, it's okay to be upset.
Yeah. As far as you're okay with the consequences that follow, everything is okay. And that's
but what I'm saying is, what I'm saying is, give people leeway and the compassion to feel that way and to go, I'm feeling like shit right now. Yeah. And maybe it's my choice. Maybe it was my choice. Maybe it's something that I decided to go on. But there are reasons that shaped me to get to this point where it is. So let's say that you're in that moment. You're already upset. There's nothing you can do about the choice that you didn't make before. How do you, from your perspective, of course, how do you get out of that without going the seemingly, I don't think it is, but seemingly simplistic way of saying, oh, you choose to get out? Because I don't think it's that simple.
Again, I think the first step is about ownership, right? And I'm not going to classify actions as good or bad.
Mm-hmm.
They're just choices, right? And each choice, whether you like it or not, has a consequence. It's cause and effect. You have a consequence.
Yep.
As far as you understand that things that are happening to you is a consequence of some choice you made somewhere, it brings the finger points back at you, right? You can make whatever choice you want. As far as you live with the consequences that come with it, you can't disown the consequences. You can't just go, oh, that person did this to me, or this happened because of XYZ situation. Somewhere, as we discussed before, you always have many choices. And each choice have consequences associated. They will come. You like it or not, that's the consequence. Live with it, right? So as far as you're happy with the consequences, any choice is fine. The problem I see in people is when the consequences do arrive, most people don't want to take ownership that they had a choice at some point. And when you take the stand that people can't do this, you're associating the brain, disassociating their own brain and the ability that they control their own brain away from that. So who's controlling that then? When you say, I don't have a choice, then who does?
My emotions.
Who controls the emotions?
My thoughts.
And who controls the thoughts?
Yep. No,
it's a cycle,
it's a loop.
right?
We can do this right? forever.
No, but it's a very interesting point, though, D, because when we talk about a human brain, right, the typical view in this argument is that there are things that our brain does which we do not control. And that's an absolute lie. We control when we talk about Wim Hof, or when we talk about people climbing Mount Everest, when we talk about people performing mind-blowingly, out of the world things, right? It's coming all the way back to that the difference is they control everything. I don't know if you can read up about again, coming from India, right? There are monks who live in the Himalayas in minus 60 degrees weather, right? And this is scientifically checked.
Yeah.
You ask them, it's like, how do you survive there? It's like, what do you mean? We control our body temperature. They literally raise their body temperature at will.
I've read about this. Yep.
Right? And so what that tells you is, if you, again, trying to make it extremely simplistic, what are we? We are just a bag of biochemical mass, right?
Correct.
And if you can control your chemistry at will, which they're showing they can. Yeah. So as a human being, as a species, we have the ability to do that, right? Yeah. Then how can you disassociate anything, whether it's your emotions, thoughts, actions, from that? You do control it. And I'm not saying this to put anyone down or say that people are doing it to themselves. What I'm saying is there are ways you can gain back control, and I think the first step is to take ownership of your choices and take back control, because at least you're not helpless anymore. Otherwise, you think all of this shit is happening to you. Other people are doing it to you.
What does that look like when you take back that control? What? So for people out there thinking, "Oh fuck, I really can't control my emotions," or "I feel like I can't," or what does it look like for them so they can actually action some of this and take something out of this conversation, really, more than
absolutely. I think this is the right time to say that I'm not an expert in any way or form in terms of mental health opinions or
same. I say stuff. It every time.
This is just me sharing my experiences. This shit that worked for me, and I've seen it work for many people I have talked to. But I would say, if something is not right, think as disassociate yourself from the situation and go, okay, what is happening, right? So if it is actually your biochemistry that's messed up, go and consult the specialist for it. Get your blood markers, check it. There are, don't just talk about it, do something about it. I think that's the difference I'm talking about. And that's what taking back control looks like. If it is a medically driven condition where you're feeling certain way because something is off in your body.
Yeah, like a chemical imbalance. We've talked about this
sorted,
before.
right?
Yep,
but if that's okay, if the doctor is saying, dude, I've checked everything and that nothing's wrong with you essentially, then start exploring other avenues, like, depending on what aligns with you, whether it is exercise, whether it is meditation, whether it's taking up sports. I don't know. Point is, do something.
Mm-hmm.
Don't just sit there and, just simmer or let it just be stuck in that situation in a circle and start using that as a crutch. Because I think a lot of people end up doing that. That's just sad, I feel. It's just because you have so much potential.
And it's so easy getting lost in many things, right? So I took medication for about 2 years, maybe a little bit more, I can't remember. And I always say that is what kept me alive for quite some time. The same way that if I had any other biological or biochemical affliction, I would have taken medication just to stay alive. And I feel very strongly against continuing or perpetuating the stigma of medication. In saying that, though, there's another part of me that have seen the other side of when you don't take medication and there's work that you need to do to be able to improve or whatever. I always give this example, right? So my son has cerebral palsy. And that means that his left side of the body is continuously in what we call hypertone. What happens as well is that from time to time, they would do this procedure where they would put Botox on the hypertonic, if that's even a word, muscle, so it would relax.
Yeah.
While that happened for about 6 or 9 months before the Botox wears off, they would exercise the other muscle. So when the hypertone goes back, he would have the strength to go to the other, to use the other muscle. Yeah. So to me, medication has been a little bit like that, just because it feels a little bit like numbing. It felt for me like numbing myself down just to be able to function at a level that allowed me to recognize these thoughts of destructive thoughts, suicidal thoughts, to be able to discover what are the things that drive me to get to that point. And delving into your expertise as well, what are my preferences in life and in my brain that make me not understand everybody else, therefore making the decision to get upset on certain things. So I think that's super interesting. And I want to use that as a segue into number one, understanding your brain and the way that certain things happen to us or with us, I should say, is super important. And for that, you do have qualifications. So the first question is, what is that qualification that you have?
So there is this concept of whole brain thinking, right? That's been around for, I think, since 1970s or 1980s. And that's one of the models or frameworks that I've been utilizing for last almost 15 years. And you know about this, right? And this is based on the research done by, people in the field of neuroscience. The guys by the name of Roger Sperry, these are Nobel Prize winners, right? Who used to essentially research on the brain to figure out what part of our brain is responsible for what function, right? So when you paint, which part of the brain lights up? When you do maths, what happens there? If you're dealing with people in a relationship and you feel the emotion of love, where does that come from? So over decades, people have mapped the entire brain to know what happens in there, right? Now we have a limited set of neurons. So what happens is brain inherently is a very lazy organ. Right? So it doesn't like to overheat. And to make that job easier for you, what it does, it programs the neurons on the things that you do repeatedly to make it easy. So I don't have to worry about too much, get heated up too much. I'll program this set of neurons. It will function and do that without using much energy. As you grow older, as based on your, again, genetics influences that as well, but based on your education, upbringing, friends, jobs you choose, your experiences, the limited set of neurons you have are programmed by your brain to give you a certain preference, right? And based on that, you'll find things easy or you find things really hard if you don't have the preferences for it. So if you break it up into 4 pieces, most people in the world have preferences for 3 out of 4 parts of the brain, for example, right? And that means at any given time, you'll have one part which you don't have preference for and you find really hard. And if you think of people who are extremely technical, extremely logical, people who deal with money, people who love Excels and can look at numbers and charts and interpret and analyze them easily, that's the top left part of your brain that does that. Similarly, the top right part of the brain is responsible for your creativity, your intuition, your artistic tendencies. All of that comes from that. Big picture thinking, strategic thinking. You have the bottom left part, which is our primitive brain, right? That's where our flight and fright response sits. Our need for safety comes from there. Our need for organization comes from there as well. So based on what preference you have in your, what neural preferences you've developed, you will act, behave, choose based on that, right? What people don't realize is the opposite from your preference. The things you don't have preference for are the ones that annoy you, are the ones that trigger you, are the ones setting you off. And it could be people saying the same things, but just using different words that you don't have a preference for, right? The top left person always says, I think this is what we should do. Or, left brain person would go, I have a plan. This is what we're going to do. But same thing on the opposite side, the person will go, I feel this is what we should do. Or they'll go, I have an idea, not a plan, right? And based on your neural biases, essentially, you'll either like someone or you'll get annoyed with them.
And you have done, maybe not certification, is not the word, accreditations of this.
Yeah,
and you have
certified coach for whole brain thinking. Yeah.
And so we've done some coaching. As a company, we've done coaching where Sachin led that those sessions, and it was really, really useful. And I remember right after the one that I did, or the second one that I did, I can't remember, we came up with ways of recognizing who each person,
what preferences
that they have, and so on. Can you tell people, because I've lived this, but can you tell people how we did that, the colors and the flags and stuff like that?
That's going to go on forever. Yeah, I can quickly though. I think easiest way to do it is, and it's looking at people, the way they dress, the way they talk, the tone they use, the words they use. So essentially, I teach people to identify their preferences in less than 30 seconds, right? So, or someone else's preference for that matter. So if you think of tone of voice, right? Like 2 of us here, we are both right.
Very similar,
So it's not as clear, but I think if they look at your previous podcast, that they can actually interpret that as well. So if someone's like us, for example, we use our hands, like move around all the time. I'm trying not to knock the microphone off. We don't complete sentences. We speak in really high speed, and our pitch is varying quite a bit. That's a very typical right brain tendency. Somebody who is, again, left brain would be talking slow, monotone, in bullet points, and completing their sentence very flat, non-emotional in a way. And you would all know people in your lives as soon as you think of those tones, right? Then when you look at dressing, you have people who are, You can look at D, for example. That's a very right brain way of dressing, right? It doesn't care whether it's on a podcast or you would go on to an interview like that as well, right? So he dresses to express, and that's how right brain people dress. People on the left side are more. So if, for example, if you think of all the tech CEOs, right? Mm-hmm. Very minimum functional dressing. Mm-hmm. Black t-shirt, jeans, as far as they have clothes on, they're fine. Mm-hmm. And that's your top left way of dressing, versus somebody on the bottom left brain preferences, someone who dresses color coordinated. It's pretty much everything is matching, the belt and the wrist band, the shoes, everything has to be color coordinated, very, very tidy and neat, right? Versus somebody on the bottom right brain preference would dress for the occasion. They will change 5 times before going out. They'll ask their partners how they look and still change.
I can think of a few people.
Yes, and that is a very
come to mind. Yes.
Interestingly, though, what I think through all of those years, having debriefed like thousands of profiles, what I found was people are always married to or are in relationship with people from the opposite side, opposite preference, always, like 99.9% of the time. And as soon as I say that, and as soon as we talk about that, that's when the penny drops for people that, this model actually works. Because the fights come from the opposite side, right? So it's when, if you're trying to explain logic to a person, your partner, your spouse, and they're getting really emotional and worked up about it, you're still maintaining calm, collected voice, and you're trying to have a discussion, and they're losing their shit. That's your top left and the bottom right fighting. In the brain, by the way, biologically speaking, those parts of the brain have no physical connection. So there's no connection that connects those two sides. You have to go through the other preferences.
Right.
And that's why the conflict seems extreme.
And it also something you have told us before, and I'm fully aware that we're talking a lot less about the things that we usually talk in the podcast, but I think this is so interesting and so useful in your day-to-day life, particularly at work. But one of the things that you taught us before is that, number one, this is not about putting people in boxes.
Nope. Yep.
This is not about framing people and blaming them around, we use colors. So Sachin used colors with us when it comes to recognizing those 4 parts. And it's not like you can go and say, you're a yellow and I'm a red and whatever, and it's just, you're just fucking asshole because of that. So it's not about that. And also that these are preferences. And there are people who have all 4 of them. There are people who have 3 of them.
Yeah, that's the most important. They are preferences. They are not your skills or experiences. They're not what you're good at. This is stuff that you do when no one's looking. This is stuff that your brain prefers and comes easy to you. So that's the most important thing. Can we all utilize all preferences? Absolutely. Some we enjoy, some we don't. That's the only difference, right?
Yeah.
And the whole idea is to use this model to understand that every preference is equally important. You do need all of them, and appreciate that when you have your partner who's the opposite, they do bring something to the table you don't have. So I think appreciation of how everyone is wired differently, but with that comes their strengths and what they're good at and what comes naturally to them.
Yeah, I frame it as well from the compassion side of things, right? Yeah. So when I get into those moments where I recognize that there's a difference with the person in front of me, I try to be as compassionate and empathetic as possible, and I go, this is the way that your brain works, and this is the way that my brain works, and none of it is good or bad.
Yeah, there's no right or wrong to it.
Or right or wrong. It is just different, and I think that allows me as well to bring empathy and compassion to the conversation as well. I want to delve a little bit into the fact that because of all these things that you have done, and I'll leave some links and resources in the either comments or whatever, description for what we just talked about, the whole brain. But I also want you to tell me about how that informed what you're doing now, and tell me about the book that you have just wrote and that it's out there already.
Yeah, it's already out there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And what you're doing around that, and then tell me about the ripple code. Sorry.
Yeah. So essentially everything we talked about before, right? My belief that if people take more ownership of their choices and the consequences that follow, they would control the events. At least they will start designing their life rather than floating, where one thing happens after another, and they end up in a place where they're now not happy or satisfied or fulfilled, right? But once you've done that, say if you've discovered your purpose and you've based on that you have decided to set certain goals in your life. Typically in the book I talk about 4 pillars, right? So you have your health, you've got your wealth or your finances, your relationship, and your career, your work. Right? Usually these are the 4 pillars that people have goals around. In the book, essentially I talk about starting with the purpose, where people actually take ownership of their choices and the consequences that follow, but helping them clarify and understand whatever they're doing in life is what is the purpose behind it? Why do you do what you do, right? So these are the questions that I ask. But once you have clarified your why, your purpose, and then you've set goals around what is it that you want to achieve in life, typically around 4 pillars, right? You have your health, you have your wealth or finances, you have your relationships, and you have your career, your work. How do you go about achieving that? And this is where I use the neural preferences or the whole brain thinking concept. For example, if you have set a goal of, losing 10 kgs, in whatever time, right, to become healthy, but you're somebody who has right neural preferences, right brain neural preferences. Typically for fitness, everything that's out there that tells you that if you want to lose weight is designed for left brain people. So go to the gym, track your macros, follow a regime, be disciplined. I'm not that person,
Same.
right? It doesn't work for me. So if that's the case, then once you know your neural preferences, how you can adapt or make choices differently. So for me, when it comes to losing weight, I've wasted so much money in gyms and stuff till I understood this stuff. And I was like, okay, fine, I'm a right brain person, so I'm going to keep it unstructured, right? So I started off by just basically getting out of bed, doing 5 push-ups and going back to bed, and then going, okay, fine, next day 10 squats, going back to bed. Keep it completely unstructured. But then it works for you. It builds up over time, right? So we talk about things like that. Is one, how do you align your purpose to what you want to achieve? But once you understand your neural preferences, how you can make choices differently. There is something important, I think, and it relates to mental health or work or any aspect of your life, is to think about your beliefs. What do you believe in? And these are the things that you subconsciously or consciously keep reinforcing yourself with, right? And people have beliefs regarding everything, money, relationships, and some of them are negative. Like, I don't know how many people you've talked to and or even teenagers or, kids, where they say, no, I can't do that. I can't, I don't. Like the negatives that they say, right? They keep reinforcing their own, I call them limiting beliefs, right? And none of the things that I talk about or say is unique. There are a lot of people out there, a lot of authors who are doing this. And I would encourage people to read them and check them out.
Yeah, I'll leave the resources in the description as well for your book and your Insta profile and any other profiles and stuff that you have. I think it's very important and very related to the mental health side of things, because a lot of what we suffer on a day-to-day basis has to do with those core values that the book and your words and what you particularly have taught us and believe in, inform that thinking of ourselves and how to get to those values and to do that. So thank you for that. I'll leave that in the description. So tell me how. I would assume that there was, at some point in your career, you must have felt either pressure or stress, or because you're not immune to that. The fact that you learned how to deal with it doesn't mean that you're immune. So what was that situation without specifics, and how did you either use any of this concept to overcome that, or did you succumb into it and that's what taught you how to get out of it? What's your view on that?
It happens all the time, right? So as you said, I'm not immune to it. It's a human condition, right? So whether be it anxiety, having panic attacks, absolutely, I've had those as well. One instance, the first time I actually had a panic attack was when we had a school reunion we had organized back in, I think it was 2001. I've never done or been very okay with doing stage talking. Public speaking was, till then I had not done that.
And you're not a big fan of gatherings either, I'm not. For what I know about you.
I am okay once I'm there. I prefer one-on-one conversations than a social gathering. If I do have to go to a social gathering, I leech on to one person I get along with.
I know, I have been that anchor. I have been that anchor for the record. Yeah.
Yep. 100%. But yeah, in terms of getting back to your question, right, I think it's again about that self-awareness and thinking, what choices do I have in this moment? Right, and doing something about it. Like I literally had, I think we went through a recent acquisition at work as well, right? And along with it brings a lot of uncertainties and stuff like that. And for some weird reason, I was feeling very anxious. And it just felt like it's not me. So like, why am I getting so worried about stuff, like stressed out, right? Literally, I went to the doctor, again, doing something about it, right? So I noticed this is not like me. So I went and checked with the doctor and I said, sounds like anxiety. Do you want anti-anxiety tablets? And I said, yeah, okay, give me some. I didn't take them, but at least understanding that, hey, there's something happening and doing something about it was the first step. Then there are a few tapes that you had given me as well. And I used them, but did not do it consistently. So I started
the meditation ones.
I said, okay, let me try that again. I haven't used that for a while. And I think a couple of sessions, and that sort of helped as well. Started exercise again. Started focusing on things that I like to do and I enjoy doing. And automatically in a few days that went away, right? But then I'm aware of the situations that can cause it, and then I prepare for it. So I would say.
And how did you, you said I started recognizing this or that. There are any signs that you pick up on yourself? Because usually I try to get people to pick up on things that might be common to them, right? So if you go, I notice that I sleep less. I notice that I eat less or more, or I sleep more, and so on. So what are the things that you picked up?
Yeah, it's again different reactions to different situations in my life, as different ages as well. But anywhere from having like rapid heart rate and elevated heart rate to not being able to sleep or switch off your brain at all, right? You can go on for days as well. So yeah, overeating, not eating less. So I think stress eating is a thing that definitely happens. Yeah,
I do both, depending on the situation.
I wish I could do the other one. So yeah, my weight fluctuates 6-7 kgs easy, depending on where I am at. But it's again knowing that what's happening and doing something about it. So let's talk a bit more about mental health, actually, because I have some really strong views on that as well, right? At first, I think talking about it absolutely is a start. You should talk to someone, right? At least what's happening discuss with someone and you'll have a solution or you'll feel better, right? But do not stop there. I think a lot of the times, at least from what I observe, we talk too much about it and people don't do anything. They just keep talking about it, and that because that's an outlet, and they go back to their victim mentality and playing around in the same circle, and keep talking and talking and talking more. Just do something about it. I think that's the important. I think we don't do enough. There has to be actions around it. Personally, I feel mental health issues. First of all, what's happening? There are two categories, right? As I said, you have serious medically diagnosed mental health issues, postnatal depression. Like these are serious issues, and they need intervention. They need medical assistance and psychiatry or counseling, whatever. You need to get help, right? But then there is this whole group of, I think it's mostly new generation. I should not generalize, I think, but people who jump onto that bandwagon, and it's due to lack of mental resilience rather than anything else. Okay. And they like to, it's like associating. It's easy to go with that. You go, yeah, it's a mental health problem, and usually it's not.
There is, so it's interesting you say that. So I believe that yes, we talk, and I say it on this show constantly, or as much as I can, the fact that I believe particularly in the tech industry, we don't talk about mental health enough, or we don't talk about it in a useful and mature and fruitful way.
And nothing comes out of it, right? So even for some that you have taken like you have taken the initiative and at least you're talking about it. But especially the people, like you have been almost an activist for it, where you push for it, right? But not many people are as open as you are to talk about their challenges. Agreed. And it's like, yes, please talk. But if you don't feel comfortable talking, at least do something, right? Do anything else, but don't just sit there, letting it simmer.
The stigma is definitely out there. And I'm going to make this comment for two reasons. Number one, because it happens, and I think it's important to talk about it, but also for myself. So out of, thousands and thousands and thousands of views and comments and likes and all of that, which I don't usually chase, but I was surprised about the last couple of episodes where I got a lot of engagement from people. So many people coming from a compassionate side and empathetic side and encouraging side and saying, hey, this is really good. This helped me with this. I shared not long ago a comment from someone saying, hey, dude, this is just so good. It helped me in certain moments and da-da-da. Many. I don't even know the number, right? There was one comment. Yeah. One comment, someone who said, you're a douchebag because of these reasons.
What?
Swear to God.
There's always one.
There's always one. And I was like,
must be your ex-girlfriend.
The reasons this person quoted were around the fact that he said, because of your body language and the things that I see in you, you're going to talk about self-help and all of these things. And I was like, yeah, sure. But if this was not a thing that we need to talk about, none of this would happen. I wouldn't need to have this podcast. I wouldn't need to have these conversations. You wouldn't be out there making this shitty comment. So we talk a lot, and we are entering this seemingly this moment where talking about or using psychology and psychotherapy language is kind of hype and cool, and people talk about trauma and people talk about regulation and co-regulate and my lizard brain, and we're creating this thing where kind of what you're saying, we talk too much and we do not enough. Now that it's not a dig at people who talk a lot about it, me being one of them. It's more around the fact that I agree with you. We should be doing more. What I wonder though, and this is the question that I always ask, is particularly in the tech industry or at work, because I know that you have a wider background than just that, what is it that we should be doing? EAP is clearly not necessarily employee assistant programs. Don't necessarily help as much as they could. So I do wonder, what is it? What do we do?
I think talking about it is a good start, right? So while you say you talk about it a lot, but that's the doing part. You're actually doing that as a purpose you have chosen, right? And so do something about it. Is all you have chosen to talk about it. I choose to drive awareness in terms of that you have a choice and try and at least point them in the right direction. Push them to seek help if that's what makes a difference, right?
Yep.
But yes, I think that's every person, whether it's a leader or a friend, colleague, if you see that someone is, and this is a hard one as well, right? Because I think it's having more conversations, build closer bonds with people you work with or people who are around you. Ask them more than just about their work. Just talk to them, because I think where there is a serious mental health issue, you won't be able to spot it because they're pretty good at faking it, right? These people can hide it. So it's not that someone who needs help will be shouting from a rooftop that I need help. Most people won't, right? I think most people won't. But if you reach out and just genuinely want to know their story, what apart from work, what else do they do, right? Just if you talk to them, I think that itself does help a lot when people have closer bonds or having somebody they feel that, you know what, that guy has my back. I can talk to that person. That's the bare minimum I think anyone can do, is just talk to people, build more bonds, I would say, and be honest about it, right? I think there's a lot of, especially at work, or I think it's a generational thing as well. It's relationships are becoming more superficial. We come from different countries where friendships were meant very different things. Right?
Yep. I talk about this all the time.
Yeah. Growing up, for me, I have friends where we could get into a physical fight and we're still friends.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Versus I've experienced people where, they were friends and they get offended so easily and then they don't talk to you for something simple. So again, it's just building those honest relationships, I feel is more important. I do feel mental health in general it should be classified as infectious disease. It is infectious. So let's talk about that actually. That's another part, right? So yes, we have people who struggle with either mental challenges or lack of mental resiliency. There are two categories. I put them in two distinct categories, right? Irrespective of that, then you have the third category, the strong ones, the support structure, support environment for all the people who are going through this challenge. And that's where their energy is drawn out from, right? That's where these people rely on. And nobody talks about that. I think in your podcast as well, you talk about people who suffer through mental challenges. What about people who are supporting them? And you know where I'm coming from and why I'm coming from that angle.
Yep.
But I think it's something serious that needs to be talked about, because sooner or later, that support environment or support group gets infected. They do. They lose their mental resilience.
That is. Sorry to interrupt you. That is. That is if they don't have the academic and or the preparation to allow them to do that. Because I know for a fact that if you are a counselor or a psychologist or a psychiatrist, they do get clinical support and they talk to other people. So there's a web of support for them. People, however, I know so many people who work in HR, for example, who are the support system for a lot of people, and though they may have some of the support systems, it's not the same as those other clinical
and even in your personal environment, right? So your friends, your family, your spouses, it's the people who bear brunt of the effects, right? Because as I said, I think most people can fake it in a work environment, and because fair enough as well. But in their personal
they should
environment, they shouldn't need. Yeah, they shouldn't, right? But most people choose to do that for whatever reasons. But in the families, with your friends and closed ones, that's where it comes out. It should come out that there as well, right? But it's been aware that there is a person who's taking constantly, and there are people who are giving constantly.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the same story. They may not have their support system around them because they are designated strong people. They are the ones that everybody comes to for support and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And before you know it, not tomorrow, not next week, but in a few years, they collapse. They will collapse because it will get to them. You can't give something you don't have. And if your energy has been taken away from you constantly, it'll get to you. And it's happening. I think it happens quite a lot because people, as I said, you don't talk about that till they get infected, till they are going through the same challenges and they talk about it. And now they are the ones who are asking for support and go, I need it. Because till then, the support environment is never talked about. It's only the people who are going through the challenges.
Yeah, it's funny because I like and I don't like at the same time you using the word infected.
I know. I use it purposely to drive the importance and urgency of
impact.
it as well. Impact.
Yeah. No, I get it. But it's so noisy to me saying it that way because it's just, it feels like creating more of the stigma when it actually is driving a little bit of awareness through the impact of the word. I do believe that boundaries are essential in that regard. So as someone who have been that support person, who have been a person who people come and talk to me about mental health and their struggles and stress and whatnot, I think having the boundaries and the self-awareness to go, look, I'm not equipped to help you. I'm here to listen. I'll listen forever until I drop dead. However, I'm not equipped to help you with this. You need to go and seek professional help. Or, look, I am not doing well right now. If you sat with me, we were both gonna, sink into this hole that we won't be able to come out of. So I think it's super important to understand that self-awareness and to have the other support system around you where if you are that person out there and you are the one who people come and talk to you. It happened to me not long ago. I got into an Uber and I asked the guy, how are you? And we spent 45 minutes talking about how bad he was doing and how sad he was and how he's very depressed. So I think there is a way of speaking that invites people talking to you and or whatever that might be. But at the same time is understanding your own boundaries and understanding yourself enough to go, this is my limit. Absolutely. I cannot listen to another word or I cannot listen to another person because we're not people like me who are not academically prepared for that or, clinically prepared for that. I think you run the risk of falling as well.
Absolutely. I think it's harder to do in a personal situation though, because I think most people want to do something for the people they love. And to the point where they in fact take it up as their goal, their purpose in life is like, if I said I love this person, then
savior complex as well.
Savior complex, right? Parents try to do the same thing as well. So I think in the personal environment, it's very hard for people to set that boundary and till it's too late, till it becomes too late, because then by the time they realize they can't do it anymore, too late. They're already in it as well.
And you're doing more harm than help to the other person, by the way.
True, exactly. Yeah, because you're not qualified as well.
And you're constantly brewing into this shit.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I want to close it off with the question that I always ask everybody. But before that, I want to say this was such a cool conversation. And I love the fact that we don't agree on a lot. And that, but we think very similarly. So I think it was awesome. Thank you so much. So with everything that we've spoken about, if you could whisper in the ear of everybody in the tech industry or everybody, whatever you choose to, anything about before they start the workday, so they feel something, what would that thing be, and what would that feeling be?
I think at the risk of sounding like a broken record, but I would tell them you have a choice. Choose your next decision carefully. So if you're going in for a day, you have a choice. What do you choose this day to be like? What are you going to do today? Right? Think about it. So be like consciously design every day of your life rather than just going with it. Because shit will happen that you do not control. You cannot control. There will be people who will press your buttons. There will be things that will happen that will throw the whole plan out of the window. Irrespective of that, no matter how worse your life is or your work is or whatever is that's happening to you, in that moment, you have a choice. And that's the one line I would whisper to anybody, is like, you have a choice.
Good title for the episode. Thank you so very much. Is there anything else that you want to say, or any parting comment other than you have a choice, make the right one?
This was a great conversation. I think continue doing what you do.
Thank you.
I think the difference is, as I said before, most people are going through life without having a purpose. And I think when you don't have a purpose, it makes things harder as well. When you have a purpose and a drive, it gives you that resilience you're looking for, because you have something you're contributing or you're giving back. So yeah, continue doing what you do. And I would say for anybody and everybody who's listening is think about your purpose as well, as why do you do what you do in life? Because I think when you discover that takes a lot of pressure away from everything else. You have something to hang on to, something that gets you out of bed. You know, like I know you do 15 things, but this is the thing that gives you the most energy.
Yeah,
you can have these conversations all day, every day. And that's the key differentiator or key hallmark of having a purpose. Is something you can do even if nobody pays you for it, no matter, like it won't be like, I don't feel like doing it. You will, the very fact that that's aligned to your purpose will give you the energy.
Something that you can do that you can sustain throughout 10 years without getting anything out of it.
Yeah. So think 100%. About what would you do if money was not a problem, if nobody paid you for doing it, but you'd happily do it every day for the rest of your life. And that usually is a good start to start digging into what your purpose might be.
100%. Thank you so much for your time. I love you.
No worries, Diego. I love you too, buddy. It's really good having a chat like this. Yeah.
Thank you.